And this brought back all my doubts about, if the Quran is truly from God, the creator of the universe, the one that knows all things, why is he describing the world in a way that, was the seventh century understanding of the world? Like the sky doesn't have, okay, we know the sky doesn't have any pillars that you can see, but there's no need for pillars. Like we're just a ball in space. Sky is just it's just emptiness. It's just emptiness of space. So there's no need for any pillars, visible or invisible. And there's many things like that, like the orbit of the sun and the moon. Why Allah describes an orbit of the sun and the moon? Like we know the orbit of the moon is around the earth. That makes sense. But the orbit of the sun, like what orbit would that be? I looked into this and I found, well, there is an orbit. It's a 300 million year orbit of the sun around the Milky Way galaxy, which has nothing to do with humanity whatsoever because it's completely useless. But of course, at that time, the Muslims would have thought that this orbit is the orbit of the sun around the earth. And even in a Sahih Hadith, Prophet Muhammad, he asked his companions, do you know where the sun goes when at the time of Maghrib? And they said, Allah knows best and his messenger knows best. And he said, it goes beneath the throne of Allah. Now we know the sun is actually still there and it's actually the earth that's going around the sun. So, this one and many other things, they didn't add up to me, that why the creator of the universe is making these mistakes or, describing it in a way that doesn't make any sense today now based on the new information. And it made me wonder, is it truly Allah, the creator, or is it just coming from a man that lived in the 7th century that believed these things and was basically writing them as he went? And so, the stories in the Quran, like I said, Dhul Qarnayn, where is Gog and Magog, Yajuj and Majuj? There's supposed to be, millions and millions of them stuck behind this dam. We haven't found any giant gate anywhere in the world. I mean, even some of I think it was Omar, we went to look for it and they didn't find it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, right? And so these things, my doubts began to grow and grow. And eventually I got to the point where I said, this can't be from God. I don't believe in this anymore. And because my doubt became more than my certainty. And when I started to look into each one of the claims that of in the Quran, that the Quran is actually from God, like embryology and the mountains and all of these things, including the language, I found they just fell down flat. Like, for example, you know, embryology, all you have to do is look into these things in detail to see how people misrepresent the Quran to be a scientific thing when actually it's not. These stories were meant to be like, kind of to bring you to remember God and to say, look how amazing it is that, the embryo, how it glows. It wasn't meant to be, scientifically accurate. And when you look into it, you find it's actually, the idea is flawed. And same thing with the stories in the Quran, like